Hello everyone, it's Jack Cotton, luxury real estate expert, author, and agent. And I'm here inside my beautiful, luxurious, but not overly ostentatious Cape Cod office thinking about business planning. This is a topic people really don't like to talk about. A process that people put off. They procrastinate above because it's perceived as being kind of a pain in the neck, kind of daunting, a big project, something you have to do but don't really want to do. Gosh, what if I make a plan and don't achieve my plan? That would be bad. Anyway, I tried to give you a resource that you can use to help you with your business planning. And I thought the best way to do this was not to be negative, but to focus on some things you should not do when doing business planning and turn them around into what you actually should do. So the name of this topic is 12 Deadly Business Planning Sins and how to overcome them and how to power through them. So let's go through these 12 deadly business planning sins. Well, as I begin this episode, I think about going on vacation. And I think about the amount of time it takes to plan a vacation. Think about this. You have to see a travel agent or go online and do a bunch of research. You need to find different resorts. You want to talk to people who went to those resorts. You want to find everything you can find out about those resorts. Then you have to start searching for airfare. What a treat that is. Searching all the airline schedules, how are you going to get to the airport? Who's going to watch your house while you're at the airport? Do you have pets? You're going to put them in pet storage, or is someone going to come to the house and feed them while you're gone? Do you get newspapers delivered? Do you have to suspend those? Do you have to turn the water off at your house to make sure the pipes don't freeze? Just think of all the steps involved in planning your vacation. Now, this vacation could be a weekend, it could be a week, or it could be 2 weeks. You know what? I think the planning for a vacation is the same whether vacation's for 2 days or a week or 2 weeks. What's remarkable to me, however, is that most of us spend more time planning a 1 week vacation than we spend planning for our whole career or our whole year in business. And that's why I think it's important to talk about business planning and business planning sins. And I can tell you that if you follow the process I'll lay out for you here today, it'll take about the same or less time than planning a vacation. And if you execute it properly, you'll be able to fund many vacations with the result. So let's talk about our 12 deadly business planning sins. First of all, starting with the first one, which is not understanding the power of goals. If you don't understand the power of goals and goal setting, you are really committing the biggest business planning sin you can imagine, because the power of goal setting is incredible. And I'll admit to you that it was a long time before I understood the power of goals, and I put it off. I didn't do it because I think for the most part, I was afraid of setting a goal and not achieving it and wondering how that would make me feel. But you need to understand the power of goals. Now, here's a picture of my nephew last summer at a family function at their house here in Cape Cod. He's walking a tightrope. Now, the tightrope is not that high above the ground, but it was so funny because all the other kids were trying to walk on this tightrope and none of them can do it. They were all falling off, having a great time, but it's only a foot off the ground, so the consequence of falling off was not that great. But this is Will, and what he did was he got on the tightrope and he told his cousins and friends, if you want to walk on the tightrope, you need to focus on the tree. Now, the tree was where the rope was attached, so that was another word for you need to focus on the destination. You see, goal setting works because a goal is a destination. And when you focus on the goal, you can walk the tightrope to get there. You can walk the trail to get there. See, too many people when they're walking a tightrope, they focus on the ground or they focus on the rope, and the ground is what becomes real. Now, if this tightrope was strung between two buildings in New York City, the consequences of hitting the ground would be much more dire. And so people would focus even more on the negative consequence of hitting the ground rather than focusing on the destination. But I thought it was so incredible to hear this young guy talk about the secret to walking the tightrope is to focus on the destination, not on the tightrope, not on the journey. Focus on where you're going. And he tried to get that message across to the younger kids and didn't quite work. But as you can see, even with some swaying back and forth, it worked for him. What we focus on becomes real. So when we set a goal, we create our future in advance. We create our future in advance. We can see it in our mind's eye, and magic happens when we write our goals down in handwriting, because that future gets created in our mind's eye. Understand that when you're writing a goal, the purpose has to be more important than the outcome. Now, if that tightrope was, 1,000 feet above the ground, the purpose of getting to the other side of the tightrope without hitting the ground is clear. The purpose is to stay alive. But in our business goals, what are we going to do with what we get from attaining our goals? The why, the purpose is more important than the goal itself. So why does goal setting work? It's very simple, really. We have this thing in the back of our brain called the RAS, Reticular Activating System. It's like a sensory filter in the back of our brains because during the course of living in the world, we are bombarded with all kinds of stimuli. We have voices, we have noises, we have sights, we have sounds, we have smells, just bombarded all the time, and our minds can't possibly process everything that's coming at us all the time. Now, if you live in the city, it's even more apparent because it's even more noise in the city, and our filters are more finely tuned to filter out everything except that which we have programmed our filter to deem as important. So here's another demonstration of how it works. Here's our brain. The filter's actually back here somewhere. And we have all this stuff. We have all this stuff: bills, projects, deadlines, the news, noise, sirens, distractions, places, appointments. All this stuff is coming into our heads, and we can't possibly process all this at the same time. So we have the filter that lets through only those things that are important to us. So with the right programming of this filter, we can let through things that will help us attain our goals. Sounds simple. Actually, it is simple. So the power of goals is, in large part, writing them down, having them and writing them down and giving them deadlines is what programs that filter. Now it lets through the possibilities of things that will help us attain our goals. We put the filter to work for us. Now, here's a picture of me in a Harley some time ago. It's funny, one time I was teaching a class on an island not too far from here, and it was an early spring day. It was a beautiful day, and after the class was over, we all went out and rented mopeds and rode around the island. It was just a beautiful day. The sky was blue. You could hear the sound of the gulls and the wind rushing by. Just that whole experience on the moped was really exhilarating. So it wasn't too many days after that when I was driving around here in the Cape, and I was going by a motorcycle dealership, and I pulled into that dealership, and before I knew it, I had ordered the bike you see me sitting on right here. And what's funny, and you probably experienced the same thing, is that after I signed the contract, I started seeing this particular model of Harley Davidson everywhere on the road. Now, is it because that all of a sudden I had the idea that everybody else had the same idea also? No, that's not the reason. The same thing happens when you look at a red Mercedes or a blue Volvo and you order one or you buy one. The next thing you notice, you see them all over the place. And you think, wow, all these people had the same idea at the same time I did. And that's really not the case. They were all there all the time beforehand. What happened was, by signing that sales contract, you effectively programmed your reticular activating system so that you let through what had already been there. Now you notice what's already been there. So that was a phase I went through, and I'm out of that phase now. Luckily, I didn't kill myself in that thing. But anyway, the whole theory of seeing cars on the road that you just ordered is the most graphic illustration of how the reticular activating system works that most of us have seen and can relate to. Well, if we can use it for buying a new car, we can also use it for setting goals in our lives, and that's the power of goal setting, and that's why it works. So goals need to be smart as we pull the whole thing together. Goals, you've heard this before, S-M-A-R-T. They need to be specific. Goals need to be specific. You can't say, I want to make a lot of money this year. You can't say, I want to sell a bunch of houses this year. You can't say, I want to retire sometime soon in the future. It's got to be specific. I need this much money by such and such a date, and I want to retire in this year with this much yearly income. Goals have to be specific. Clear, specific. Next, M stands for measurable. You can measure money, you can measure time, but again, if you just say, I want to sell a bunch of houses, how do you measure that? You need to say, I want to sell a house a month, a house a week, a house every 2 weeks, whatever the case may be, but a goal has to be measurable in order for it to qualify as being a goal. Otherwise, it's just a wish. Next, it has to be attainable. Now, I could have a goal of winning the Boston Marathon, but I don't think I could attain that. And it's also not realistic. So attainable and realistic sort of go hand in hand. That goal is not attainable for me, and it's not realistic for me. So you don't want to make yourself crazy or feel terrible by setting goals that are not attainable or realistic for you. So for me, driving the Boston Marathon, that might be a good goal, a realistic and attainable goal, or riding my bike on the 26-mile marathon route, but running it, not realistic, not attainable for me. Lastly, goals need to be timely. Without a deadline, a goal is just a dream. In fact, another definition of a goal is a dream with a deadline. So make sure in all your goals, you have a timeline, a deadline for them to be completed. So what's the negative aspect of setting our goals? First of all, what is the price for not achieving your goal? What is the price of, not getting what you set out to attain or get? How are you going to feel when that doesn't happen? Think about your brain thinks about two things, pleasure and pain. Think about the pain of not achieving your goal. Some people respond to pain more than they do to pleasure. So think about how you would feel if you don't attain your goal. So action items for number one, for deadly business planning sin number one, is to share a referral goal. There's a goal we don't mind sharing on Facebook, but make a goal for how many referrals you're going to make in the upcoming year and share that on Facebook. Now you've shared it with the world. And then on a piece of paper, somewhere off to the side where I can't see it, no one else can see it, write down an income goal for this year. Okay, number two is, in our list of deadly business planning sins, is understanding the power of goals and not setting them anyway. There are people, I was in this category. I knew that there couldn't be so many people talking about goals and the power of goals. There had to be something to it. There had to be some truth in it. It had to be real. It had to work. Yet I resisted setting them anyway. And again, it comes back to that whole thing about I was afraid to set a goal because what if I didn't achieve it? So the second biggest sin you can make is if you understand the power of goals, or if you just learned it from the first one we just covered, and still you don't do it, that's a huge sin that you want to try to avoid. Get rid of that fear of failure. Failure is how we learn. We talked about failure in the first module that we began together. Get rid of the fear of accountability. Your goals are a way to keep you accountable to yourself. If you share them with somebody else, now you have an accountability partner, but sometimes we're afraid of accountability, so we don't want to set goals. And sometimes we have the fear of validating that we could never achieve such a level of success or never attain such a level of income or success in luxury real estate, for example. So you need to erase that fear. Download my business plan at luxurybusinessplan.com. Here's the URL right here, luxurybusinessplan.com. And you can set your goals and you can attach a plan to them, create a plan for achieving your goals right in this download. It's free for you to download. Here's what it looks like. This is the easy page. This is the front page. You just have to put in the dates and your name. Couldn't get any easier than that. And then you write down your goals. What's your income goal for next year? And how many hours do you want to work per week? And how many days do you want to work per week? And what percentage of your business do you want to come from listings sold? And what percentage do you want your business to be from buyers who bought? And I put 80-20, you can do 50-50, it doesn't matter. On the spreadsheet that you download from luxurybusinessplan.com, everywhere you see a white box is where you enter information. Everything else is automatically calculated. So the cool thing about these white boxes is that you can do a lot of what-if analysis. Like if you decide to change the 80-20 to 50-50, you can just change your business plan drastically and you can see what that would look like. So action items for number two is download the plan, and then let me ask you this question. You wrote down an income goal off to the side there where nobody can see it except for you. What if 75% of that goal, what would that look like if you only achieve 75% or 50%? Think about that. See, would that be terrible? So make your goals big, make them audacious, make them brave. If you shoot for Mars and you hit the moon, that's still a pretty good year. So do these action items. Okay, next. Not taking the time to create the plan to reach your goals. Not taking the time to create the plan to reach your goals. That's deadly business plan sin number 3. You've got to create a plan to reach your goals. if you don't do that, you're just never going to attain your goal. I always compare this to a ferry boat leaving the dock here on the Cape heading to one of the islands. Well, the captain has a goal, which is the other island destination, and the action plan is the course, between all the buoys that mark the path to get to the other island. That's the action plan. So you need to create an action plan, and that spreadsheet you downloaded will pretty much create an action plan for you automatically. So you need to take the time to schedule your planning appointment. That's your action item for this one. Next is not stretching enough. Number 4, list of deadly business planning sins is not stretching enough. You could just set easy goals, easy to attain goals, but how's that going to make you feel? I did that once in high school. I took what I knew was going to be a real ridiculous easy science class because I didn't really feel like working that hard. And I was embarrassed the whole time I was there because it was just like, I just didn't belong. I wasn't stretching myself. It was just easy. I just had to show up and get a great grade in that class. I wasn't stretching enough. So make sure your goals are stretch goals, because if you're going to fail at achieving your goals, you might as well fail at achieving a big goal and hit 50% of it, which will still be a remarkable achievement for you. So action item here is to take that goal you wrote down on that piece of paper for deadly business planning sin number 1 and double it. Yeah, go ahead and double it and see what that looks like. Okay, number 5 is failing to gather actual data to create your plan. You need data to create your plan. If you don't know where you are, there's no way to calculate and plan how you're going to get to where you want to go. So you've got to spend some time to create a plan by collecting the data to create your plan. So here's another page in my spreadsheet. And again, all these white boxes have information for you to fill out from the previous year. Listing leads last year, listing appointments last year, listings taken last year, and so on and so forth. And with all the numbers that you put in there from last year, it calculates your batting averages automatically, all your ratios. So it takes that along with your goal information, your income goal information, and it calculates what you need to do in terms of leads, appointments, listings taken, and listings sold. Same with buyer leads, buyer appointments, and buyers sold. It just tells you what you need to do on every single month. So your action item for this sin is to figure out how you're going to debrief last year's numbers. And I'll cover that in another section of this training series, but it's important to figure out where does that information lie. Most times it's in your calendar, your Daytimer, or your Outlook calendar, whatever calendar you use. Hopefully you're writing down appointments, and that's going to be your best way to gather this information. But ask yourself and write down what you're going to do to get that information. Number 6 is not planning for the unexpected. Not planning for the unexpected. Again, when that ferry boat leaves the dock and heads to the island and is following the course, unexpected things occur along the path. The wind changes from the southwest to the northeast. The current goes from east, now it turns to west, and the waves get really big, and the captain's got to adjust course all the time. So unexpected things come up. A boat might sink or might catch on fire somewhere out there, and they have to go and rescue some people. They've got to be ready to change the plan and deviate the plan and adjust the plan and fine-tune the plan as the plan unfolds. So as you think about your business, what's your plan B? What if you can't work? What if you get laid up for a while? Or what if you can't show your listings anymore? What are you going to do for contingencies to make sure that your goal is achieved no matter what? Next, I told you this before, the why, the reason for your goal is the most important part of your goal. And not having a strong enough why is really a deadly business planning sin. So if you just have a goal to make a certain amount of money, and that's that, it's going to be hard to achieve. But if you have a goal to earn a certain amount of money, and then you lay out what you're going to do, like I'm going to pay off my kids' student loans, like I'm going to take my whole family on a family reunion trip to Disney World, or I'm going to buy my parents a house, or whatever the case may be, or I'm going to get that master's degree I've always wanted, or I'm going to take guitar lessons, whatever the case may be, you've got to have a really strong why, because that will drive you to the attainment of your goal. So you've got to have a strong why. If you don't, that is a real business planning sin. So what will it mean to you? What will it mean to your family? What will it mean to others if you attain the goal you set out? That why is critically important. What difference can you make in other people's lives? What difference can you make in the world if you attain the goal you set out? How will you feel? How will you feel when you do that, when you take your family on that trip, when you fund that house for Habitat for Humanity, or whatever the case may be? And who will you be as a result of your attaining that goal? The why, a strong why, is what will drive you and really focus that programming in the reticular activating system that will help you attain your goal. So, action item here is, what will attaining your income goal mean to you and your family? What will it mean? What changes will you make? What differences will you make? Think about that and write it down. Okay. Number 8 in deadly business planning sins is not having a system for accountability. I mean, just having a goal written down is great. Having a deadline is great. But you've got to have a system for accountability to make sure you're progressing on the path. So maybe you need to post your goals everywhere, on the mirror, in the car mirror, in the bathroom, in your office, everywhere. And maybe you need to have an accountability partner. Maybe that's your spouse or your significant other. Maybe somebody across the country that you talk to on the phone every day or so and keep each other accountable. But you've got to find a way to keep yourself accountable. I find that spreadsheet that we talked about at luxurybusinessplan.com, there's a whole accountability section broken down by month where you can keep track of the number of appointments and listings and sales you've had during the course of the year that will help keep yourself on track. I can tell you though, there's nothing like having another person to keep you and hold you accountable. So find a partner, have some systems, and even get a coach who can help keep you on track and help you be accountable. And you can, don't forget family. Your significant other, your family, your spouse, whatever, can help you with accountability, especially if they're part of the why for achieving the goal. So again, who will you share your goal with? Write that down. Who will you share your goal with? Number 9 is not having time to execute. Not having time to execute your business plan. Well, that all boils down to time management. Time management is critical. And I want to just give you some ideas here on planning your day to make your time more effective. We all have the same amount of time in a given day. How do we get the most out of that time each and every day? First of all, make a to-do list before you go to sleep at night. It sounds simple, but have a list of stuff that you're going to accomplish the next day. And then don't forget, before you make the list for tomorrow, you're debriefing the list you did for today to see how much of it you got done. Enter appointments. You can actually make your to-do list as appointments. Sometimes I find it more effective rather than writing out a list of the real important things I'll put down for 9 a.m. or 10 a.m. on the next day, so they actually turn into appointments. And then review your master plan to see what tomorrow does in terms of getting you towards your master plan. Everything you do today or tomorrow, you want to be taking you a little bit closer to achieving your goal, achieving your master plan. Look for things in your to-do list that you can delegate to other people, either team members or subcontractors or somebody, even family members. Find things you can delegate and have someone else take care of for you. And then plan your prime time. Everybody has a different prime time. You might find your prime time is when you wake up in the morning. If you can wake up at 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning, that might be the time you can get a ton of stuff done, especially creative stuff. Other people might find the middle of the night is better. No right, no wrong. It's what works for you. Plan your prime time and make your really difficult to-dos occur during that prime time so that you can get them done then. Okay, here's some ideas about creating what I call time blocking, or a lot of people call time blocking, and it's actually towards making a perfect day in business or a perfect day in real estate. But here's a list of activities, and in your workbook there is a calendar, no dates, just days and time, and you can just fill out these activities in your calendar and you'll never be lost for something to do. So here's the item, the hours, the day. So for example, your company meeting, company caravan, and MLS tour, when are they and what day of the week do they occur? Calling customers, maybe 1 hour after 5 o'clock in the afternoon, Mondays or Fridays. And again, these are arbitrary in your schedule, in your market. Different times might be different. I'm giving you a suggestion for constructing a perfect day or a perfect week in real estate. Checking on transactions, 1 to 1.5 hours, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursdays. a lot of people with whom you're checking, attorneys and banks and so forth, sometimes hard to reach on a Monday or a Friday, so Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays are better. Block out a time for that. And also before 10 or after 4 is the ideal time to reach these folks. Calling sellers. Oh, my least favorite thing to do. Calling sellers half an hour to an hour, either a Tuesday or a Thursday, just to get on the phone and call each and every one of them. Having lunch, most important part of my day, but put it in your calendar so it's blocked out and the time is there. Office time, this is like the return messages or open mail, or pick up mail, or make copies or whatever. Not your uptime if that's what you do at your office, but half an hour in the morning, Monday through Saturday, and half an hour in the afternoon. Same thing, Monday through Saturday. Just that's when you really want to be consistently there. So here's another list of things. Previewing property, especially if you're breaking into a new market. 6 hours, and break it up in blocks of 2 hours minimum, and 2-hour blocks minimum. And this is not including MLS and not including your caravan. Get out and go to other people's open houses or tour the vacant listings that your company has. But block in this time in 2-hour blocks to preview property for 6 hours per week. Prospecting, 9 2-hour blocks. That's real optimistic. That's a real push goal, a real, what do they call it? A stress goal, I guess. But block that in there, 3 to 4 1-hour spots per week, and just figure out when you're going to put those in there. And again, if you only achieve 50% or 25% of this goal, this particular time blocking goal, you're still going to be light years ahead of everyone else in your marketplace. Role play and practice, 3 to 4 1-hour spots per week. This is where you practice your scripts and your presentation with other members of your team. And plan a day off. Reading and study every day, 6 to 7 a.m. Again, maybe your prime time is 7 to 8 p.m. Doesn't matter, just block it out there. So when you finish this, and in your workbook, you're going to have a basic structure of a perfect week in real estate. And while you may never hit that perfect week in real estate, you've got a great starting off point so that you never arrive at your office, or you never have a moment in the day where you can think about, what should I do now? What should I do now? And then the ramp up time to get a project started is so long that you're just lost, ineffective. By time blocking a week at a time, you're going to be way more effective and get a ton more stuff done. So some more time savers for you. Both the buyer and selling qualification process save tons of time, because let's face it, going out with unqualified sellers or unqualified buyers is a huge waste of time. So you want to make sure you have a process for qualifying both of them. Don't forget the questions we mentioned during Roadmap for Champions. Get more accurate information, you can do a better job in less time. Yeah, that comes back to qualification and really asking your potential buyers and your potential sellers the right questions that lead to the right and accurate information. The biggest time waster we have in real estate is, of course, overpriced listings. These are the ones who call you up all the time. They're demanding your attention and time all the time. They're demanding your money all the time because they want you to buy more ads. I mean, overpriced listings are a complete waste of time unless the motivation is really, really, really high. So action item here is refine your perfect day. Use the calendar, the 2-page calendar in the handout, the workbook here, and refine your perfect day and put in times that work for you and add some other items. And if you add all those hours up, you're going to see that you're going to be like 30 hours, 35 hours. You still have tons of time to show property, do presentations, negotiate offers, and otherwise conduct a successful real estate business. Deadly business planning sin number 10 is not having a strong belief system. This is critically important. If you don't believe you can attain that goal, it's going to be really hard to attain that goal. You've got to have a strong belief system to get there. That begins with a belief statement. The science of thought is as old as humankind, and what controls our thoughts and what controls our output is as old as humankind and how we think. And so we need to, it's all kinds of things been studied about, the whole garbage in, garbage out. If we think negative thoughts, about ourselves, it's really going to hinder our ability to succeed in life and in the luxury real estate business specifically. So what if we had a belief statement, which was a clear and easy to understand statement that says, who are you? That talks about who I'm going to become, who you're going to become. What beliefs do you need to live by to attain the goals you've set out? What beliefs do you need to live by to attain the goals you've set out? What are your strengths? What are you most proud of? These are important things to incorporate into a belief statement that will help you have the mindset required to attain your goal. So here's a sample belief statement you can use for a jumping off point to create your own. I wake up each day energetic, alive, and sharp as a tack, ready to kick butt and make the most of each day. I'm super creative and always full of new ideas. I am proud of the success and position that these strengths, combined with hard work, have brought to me. So use that as a jumping off point to create your own belief statement, one that will power you to the attainment of your goals, one that will help you have the mindset required, necessary to attain your goals. And the last thing, I never give up. What a great belief statement. I never give up. Just keep going. Okay, another way to change your mindset is through the use of positive questions, because I've noticed that people ask themselves questions all day long. Every waking hour of the day, people are asking themselves questions. The trouble is, most of the questions we ask ourselves give us crummy answers, but questions absolutely positively control the focus of your mind. I mean, if a programmer programs a computer with writing in code, questions are the code that program your mind, the reticular activating system, and the focus of your mind. Positive questions are the way to go. What are you paying attention to? What we focus on becomes real, as we learned on that little tightrope, but we become what we think about. And questions are a strong way to get there, because the questions we ask ourselves absolutely control our brain. And what I've noticed is you will always get an answer to any question that you ask your brain. The trouble is we ask ourselves some really bad questions sometimes. But I know that when I was in college decades ago, eons ago, that I knew some of the really hard problems I had in accounting, in finance, that I would ask myself questions. I discovered this sort of by accident. And I would wake up in the morning and know the answer, because my mind worked through the problem while I was asleep. And I would wake up in the morning and know the answers to the problems. So when you have a question, you want to turn it around. So what could I do today to help me remember names? Rather than saying, how come I can't remember names? I can't remember names. How many times have you said to someone else and to yourself, I can't remember names? There's no way. I go to a party, I hear somebody's name, I forget it in 3 seconds. Why can't I remember names? So what happens is your brain is working all night while you're asleep, working on an answer to that question, why you can't remember names, and reinforcing that negative characteristic you have, which is not being able to remember names. So if you could ask this question every single day, what could I do today to help me remember names? What could I do today to make myself better in the real estate business, a stronger lister, a stronger buyer agent? What could I do today to make myself a better partner, parent, or spouse? And then add, enjoy the process to that question. So for example, what can I do today that'll help me remember names and enjoy the process? What can I do today to help me to be a better real estate professional and enjoy the process? What can I do today to make myself a better partner, spouse, or parent and enjoy the process? Turning the question around, now you're asking yourself empowering questions that will program your RAS and also create the mindset that's required for you to attain your goals. Questions do 3 things. They change your focus instantly. They program a sensory filter or reprogram a sensory filter, and they help you gain access to resources within yourself. You need to think about some positive questions you can ask yourself every single day. So I want you to stop the video now and write down 3 positive questions you could ask yourself every single day. Okay, perfect. Positive questions are great. Now we need to talk about affirmations, because besides asking ourselves questions, we can also make statements to ourselves, because a lot of us talk to ourselves daily. Here's another example. I noticed this on the golf course. I play golf maybe once or twice a year. And I didn't want to say what I say on the golf course. But you've heard it. Somebody hits the ball poorly, and what do they say? They say terrible things about themselves. You this, you that, you're terrible, I'm awful, I can't believe I'm so bad at this. And what you're doing is you're reinforcing that negative behavior that you are exhibiting on the golf course. Well, the same thing that occurs on the golf course happens in life. We talk to ourselves negatively. We need to turn that around and talk to ourselves positively each and every day. We have this clock inside of us. I mean, try this test tonight when you go to sleep. You can, before you go to sleep, say, I'm going to wake up at, and think of a weird number, 6:02 a.m. And sure enough, you wake up tomorrow morning and you look at the clock next to your bed and it'll be 6:02 a.m. That is an affirmation. And many people think that's amazing. I think it's amazing, but what's really amazing is that people limit it to what time they're going to wake up tomorrow morning. You know, why not add to that and make it even more compelling? Why stop there? So draft 3 positive affirmations. Stop the video now, and in your workbook, write down 3 positive affirmations that you could tell yourself each and every day that would empower you, that would change your mindset, that would give you the belief system necessary to attain your goal. Okay, action item. Refine your affirmations, refine your 3 positive questions, and that's your assignment for that module, for that section. Okay, number 11, sin number 11, making your plan too complicated. Man, you can make this really, really complicated. You could have, I used to run my company with actually a one-page spreadsheet with a few pages of backup. I mean, all my budgeting, everything was done on a couple of spreadsheets. Now, some companies I go to and some people I visit, they've got these things that are 27 pages long. I mean, all linked together with macros and all this other stuff. It is so complicated that you lose track of what you're looking at and where you are and where you're headed. So pretty soon you're driving blind. It's like somebody put, a big drape over the windshield of your car and you're driving down the highway at 90 miles an hour. So making your plan too complicated is really not the way to go. Albert Einstein said, everything should be made as simple as possible, but not simpler. So keep it as easy and simple as possible. That's why I've designed my business plan to be simple and easy to do. The hardest thing about my business plan is the debriefing last year's activities to help you predict what you need to do for this year. So your action item would be, what will your plan look like? You're going to use a Word document, an Excel spreadsheet. You can use a dedicated app or program. I don't care. Just have a business plan, have a set of goals, figure out how you're going to, what form it's going to take, what form it's going to manifest itself in, and just decide to do it. Okay, number 12 is not planning your business goals, not planning your personal goals in time first. And I actually feel guilty talking about this one because I violate this all the time. But you need to, as Stephen Covey says, put the big rocks in first. And the big rocks should be family and self and friends. So plan your vacation time, plan your days off, plan your activities, and then try to work your work around that rather than planning your work and trying to fit your family stuff around that. I know it's way easier said than done, but that's a big sin, is not planning your personal goals in time first. So action item here is, what is your number 1 personal goal? What is your number 1 personal goal? Okay, here's your bonus sin. Deadly business planning sin number 13. And this is critical, and that is not sharpening the saw. You've got to stay sharp. You've got to sharpen that saw, or else you're just not going to succeed in any business, especially luxury real estate. Stephen Covey has this as one of his 7 habits of highly effective people. Got to sharpen the saw. So think about for next year, what real estate book are you going to read, and how many books are you going to read per week or per month or per year? What seminars are you going to take? What CDs are you going to listen to? Just make a list. Write down, I'm going to attend such and such a seminar, and be specific about what you're going to, where it is, and what it's about, and what you're going to attain from it. So that, my friends, are the 12 deadly business planning sins. Next, we're going to move into an actual goal-setting workshop.